What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. Every year, a young team has a major win totals jump. The Rockets last season, OKC in 2024, Sacramento in 2023, Memphis in 2022, the Suns in 2021, the Mavs in 2020, the Nuggets in 2019, etc. So why is nobody super high on the Spurs? This feels like the most obvious prediction ever to me. A roster that goes 12 deep with awesome talent and awesome defense. I struggle to see on paper the argument for either LA team or the Warriors having a better record than them this season. So let's dig into this a little bit deeper. I still think, even though those teams have their flaws, the LA teams, Golden State, some of these teams have their flaws in the playoff context, the top of the West is still ridiculously awesome. Oklahoma City won the title last year and is the prohibitive favorite to win the title again next year. Houston was the 2 seed last year and added Kevin Durant. Denver, I would argue, has the most talented roster they've had in the Jokic era. So a definitive top 3. And then after that, these are good. These are flawed teams. They have their issues. It may prevent them from winning the title. But these are really good teams that are going to be tough to beat on any given night in the regular season. The Lakers, Luka Doncic in a revenge campaign. A pissed off LeBron. Austin Reeves. They added DeAndre Ayton to their weakest position group. The Clippers, if they sign Bradley Beal, they'll be better than they were last year because they bolstered their front court depth with Brook Lopez and John Collins. The Timberwolves, they've literally made the conference finals twice in a row, and Anthony Edwards is improving dramatically every single year. The Warriors looked amazing post-Jimmy Butler trade until Steph got hurt. If they add Al Horford, they're an improved team. They haven't done anything else yet, but they are still very good. Dallas, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, a ton of talent, albeit a little imbalanced. If Kyrie Irving returns at any point next season, they'll be super tough to beat. And I saw a video of him on the court shooting a basketball the other day. He's making progress. If he returns around, March or April, that's a tough team to beat. That is 8 really dangerous teams that will all go into the season thinking they can win the title. Now, the Spurs will be really good too. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama could be a top 5 player this year, potentially, right? De'Aaron Fox made my top 25 players last summer when we did our player rankings. They added a legit backup center in Luke Cornett, and there's a ton of young talent on this roster. Obviously, Dylan Harper has all-star potential. We've seen Carter Bryant look like they're kind of like most versatile perimeter defender at the 3 spot, something they didn't have on the roster before this. They have a young core already in place with guys like Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, and Stephon Castle. That's a lot of talent. But all of those guys are super young. And there's a lot of variance in the potential outcomes there. Not just for how each individual player plays because they're young, but how well they all fit together as a basketball team. And I'd argue there's even variance with Wemby. He could be the 5th best player in the league next year, but he could also be somewhere around the 10th or 11th best if his skill development doesn't take a leap or he struggles with health throughout the year. The point is, with a lot of these teams in the West, we know what they're going to look like because there's some continuity there. But we don't really know what the Spurs are going to look like. I actually think, and by the way, this is the Western Conference. There are a lot of good teams that end up in the play-in tournament. I actually think it's more likely than not that San Antonio ends up in the play-in tournament than them being a top 4 seed, for example. That doesn't mean I don't believe in San Antonio's core or that I don't believe in Victor Wembanyama. It just means that the top of the West is a bloodbath. And it's just really hard, in terms of racking up win totals, it's going to be hard for any team to rack up win totals, let alone a young team with a bunch of young players that have a wide variety of potential outcomes this year. As far as like Houston, because obviously we're looking at Houston last year as an example. Well, Jason, they're young too, right? Well, first of all, they had several vets in their rotation. Fred VanVleet is a vet who's won a championship. Dylan Brooks is a veteran who's become a really stable, solid starting 3 in this league. Steven Adams is a vet. And they had an elite unit. Their depth of perimeter defense talent was so off the charts that it caused nightly problems for every team on their schedule. I think Victor Wembanyama is certainly capable of anchoring an elite defense, but I don't think the roster as currently constructed is an elite defensive roster just yet. It's a lot of young players, a lot of theoretical guys that could fill certain roles, but I don't think they're quite yet the like top 5 type of defensive roster that Houston was. And I think they're a middle of the pack offense at best, right? These things take time. And a play-in appearance in the West, again, is nothing to make light of. The Warriors were a play-in team last year. I viewed them as a legitimate championship contender until Steph got hurt, right? The West play-in bracket has pretty good teams in it every single year. That's the nature of the conference. So yeah, does that mean I think they're going to finish, 10, 12 games below all those guys? No, but I could see them finishing 3-4 games below the top 4 seeds and end up in the play-in bracket because that's just the nature of the Western Conference. It has nothing to do with what San Antonio is capable of or the value that I see in their core. It's just the West is a bloodbath, man. And it's just difficult to just step in there and start kicking everyone's ass. Next question. What are the chances percentage-wise that the Wizards can be a playoff team this upcoming season? I personally love what they've done this offseason. This is a continuation of the question. I personally love what they've done this offseason. They have a nice mixture of intriguing young prospects and established veterans like Middleton, McCollum, and Smart. Are they a sneaky 8 seed? I think there's a pretty solid chance that the Wizards make the play-in bracket this year. And just by being there, that gives them a solid chance of getting one of the 8 playoff spots, right? I said before the draft that Trey Johnson was my favorite prospect. Not that he was the best prospect. I don't think he's the type of prospect that Cooper Flagg is. Just that he was my favorite to watch. Because his skill set of being able to shoot off the move going in every direction, but also off the dribble scoring, I think that's tailor-made for an NBA offense. And he is, by the way, completely demonstrated that in his first couple of Summer League games. Through 2 games in Vegas, 39 points, 14 for 24 from the field, and 5 for 11 from 3. All of it on display, too, like shooting coming off of screens, shooting out of spot-up situations, some high-level off-the-dribble scoring. I was really impressed by his ability to dribble into contact and kind of get his shoulder into players and bump them off and rise up for that little floater. He's shown some really soft touch. He's shooting a very high and soft ball in Summer League in both his jump shots and with his floaters. I just think there's always a spot in the NBA for a guy who can score out of the actions that NBA teams run. And Trey is already good at that stuff, and it's only going to get better. Alex Sarr blocked 8 shots yesterday, was giving Drew Timme fits. He's a problem. Bub Carrington had moments towards the end of last season as a primary creator after Jordan Poole got traded. Bilal Coulibaly is like the perfect 3-man to put that group together defensively. They brought in Cam Whitmore for more depth at forward, which is a position group where they were a little thin. They have a well-balanced roster with exciting young talent, but also older vets like Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum, and Chris Middleton that can either be kept around as mentors and guys that fill smaller roles or guys that you can move at some point for additional asset return. The big thing that makes me excited about Washington is I think their young core has the potential to be great on defense too, which again is a prerequisite to consistent success in the NBA. Like when you're looking at young cores, you want to know why Oklahoma City is so successful as a young core? Because Chet is an amazing defender. Jalen Williams is a very, very good defender. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a plus defender. And so it just gives them a really strong foundation to put little role players in smaller roles around them. I think that this Wizards core with Bilal Coulibaly, with Alex Sarr protecting the rim, they have the potential to be a great defense too. And you ditched Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, the 2 guys that could have disrupted the winning culture with their kind of general unserious behavior. I think the key for this team is going to be offensive organization. This is a team that if you can generate quality roll man touches, quality pop touches for Alex Sarr, quality opportunities coming off of action for Trey Johnson, a sophisticated 5-out offense, if they can get that established, that gives them a high floor on the offensive end because Alex Sarr has that potential, because Trey Johnson has that natural skill set, because Bub Carrington can score in those actions. They have the pieces with which, if they can be organized properly, to be a successful offense. The team is on a fun trajectory. I'm actually really, really looking forward to watching the Wizards this year. Like I said, Trey Johnson is one of my favorite prospects that I've evaluated in the last couple of years. So it just looks like a fun, exciting team that in a way that they have not been in previous years.